The final moment of the musical Fun Home profoundly changed the way I think about theater. So after nearly 2 hours of circling each other on stage, the three actresses portraying the real-life Alison Bechdel throughout various stages of her life are alone, and they stop and they look at each other. And it knocks the wind out of you. And it's not just because of a plot point. It's not because of some grand lighting cue, some button of a song. It's because it's a moment where the three actors are not only providing closure to the character and they're seeing each other, but they're also acknowledging, sharing a space. It's what live theater is that we so often forget. It is real people telling a story to other real people. And that is different than any other medium because there is no boundary. When it was mounted on Broadway, it was quite literally performed in the round. There were audience members sitting on all four sides of the stage. There was no wall to hide behind. And when it comes to the end of this story, heartbreaking, so sad, but also like a story filled with so much love and heart and humor. You come to the end of it, you've kind of like you've been through the ringer. And then to have this moment where it comes down to the three actresses playing Alison, one who's been narrating the evening, who has been kind of like seeing and recalling memories of the other two, but to have her joined by the other two, it really is extraordinary. Fun Home is a musical based on the graphic memoir by Alison Bechdel, written by Lisa Crone and Jeanine Tesori and directed by Sam Gold, that went through a development process at the Public Theater for a couple of years, from 2011 to 2013, before opening off-Broadway in 2013. Then in the spring of 2015, so a year later, it opened on Broadway. This was only 10 years ago, and I say only because it feels like a lifetime ago in terms of how the world has changed, how the industry has changed, how bringing a show like this, which logline is like, this is an original musical based off the real story of a lesbian cartoonist and her rocky upbringing, followed by finding out her dad is a closeted gay man who then kills himself. But what Lisa Crone and Jeanine Tesori and Sam Gold did with this material is nothing short of revolutionary. And I think we will look back to regard Fun Home as a pioneer of the modern musical. There's a couple reasons behind that. It is the first musical to be one act and just nail it. It is 100 minutes and you could not break it into two acts. You could not tell this story in another way. And I don't know if any other one-act musical has achieved this. They've all tried. They've all wished they could do it. But really, by developing this sense of style with the three Alisons, which has also now been copied by every biopic, every bio musical, all of these kinds of tropes have been used. They created a structure that is like a train. You get on at the beginning with Big Alison, starting with Small Alison, and then they interweave all three stories the entire way. It is so masterfully crafted. It honestly just makes me a little giddy. But then it also makes me frustrated that all musicals aren't as good. But it is just extraordinary. The only way I can speak about Sam Gold's direction of this is he understood the assignment. And not only did he understand it, but he was able to demonstrate it in multiple ways. Not only on a proscenium production at the Public Theater, which used a turntable before turntables were cool, but then transferring it to Circle in the Square, a smaller space where the audience was then in the round. He and the creative team, notably David Zinn, the scenic designer, rethought the entire show to use trapdoors. The set became a character in the way it moved. I mean, it was beautiful to watch the doors rise up out of the floor in direct timing with the music or a character crossing the stage. The way things moved was so beautifully thought out that it really enhanced the story. And I think this is another thing many shows have tried to copy since, and most of the time don't succeed in, because you're moving things just to move things, or you're moving something and it's not on beat. I mean, there is an insane amount of, for lack of a better word, math, even though it's not math and science, that goes into making these decisions. While I loved the show off Broadway, I honestly was very green at the time. I was a sophomore in college. I was new to the city, obviously, and really new to the wide world of theater. I had only known the very mainstream musical theater, and I'd actually at that point seen very few off-Broadway shows. This was my first time at the Public. All I knew, because I was a Broadway World message board troll, this was before the days of, TikTok and everything, was I had to see this musical Fun Home. And the thing that stood out about it to me the most was that ending, the three Allisons looking at each other. There are various other bits and pieces that I remember just being like, this is like wild what is happening on stage, and I am very uncomfortable, but also proud to be seeing a story about the LGBT community being told in such like a progressive and modern way that felt deeply authentic. It was really remarkable to see. And I have just been thinking about it a lot in it celebrating 10 years of having been on Broadway, because to me its impact is so much bigger than we'll ever know. I think it's easy to look back and be like, well, now there have always been gay shows on Broadway, and there have been even more gay musicals on Broadway since. But where we were as a country, as a climate, in 2013, 2015, it was so different. It really was. And to have this show feature what they claim, and, for all intents and purposes, I believe the first, or, the largest lesbian protagonist is crazy. There was a song about a 11-year-old girl singing about recognizing someone that might be triggering her identity. It's a really wonderful thing. I think the show ended up being successful far beyond anyone's wildest dreams. I know the producers in all the interviews, they're saying that crazy was the word they heard the most, and why would you bring this to Broadway? It recouped in only 8 months, which is insane. It had a capitalization of 5.25 million, so probably in these days that would be around 8 or 10 million, which is extremely low for a Broadway musical. And the fact that it was able to recoup all that money before the Broadway run ended is amazing. And now it has gone on and has a very healthy life. Now, the crazy kooky question that maybe only I'm thinking of: is Fun Home the most influential musical of the century? I think there's an argument for it. I don't know if it's something you can calculate. I know everyone right now is probably screaming a million other shows that you think are more deserving of the title, but what I constantly come back to is everything Fun Home has influenced in its wake. I really do believe it blazed a trail that so many amazing shows have been able to rise up because of. I know other shows have really shaken up the Broadway landscape and really broke through the cultural stratosphere in a way Fun Home did not. But in terms of the impact Fun Home has had on other musicals and the way we look at musicals, I think so. In my mind, it is the best musical winner of the century. I think it also does a really good job of exemplifying how a book and score can be in harmony together, going against my natural nature, which is just someone that loves sung through musicals. I love a rock opera. I love that kind of musicality, but Fun Home proves how you can incorporate a book and score together to really tell one hell of a story. I think it does it brilliantly. And I think it does it in a way that so many shows have tried to replicate. Again, I don't know if there's any way to calculate what the best is or what the favorite is. If you are not familiar with the musical Fun Home, I highly encourage you to take a listen to it. There are 2 cast albums available. I naturally just listened to the Broadway one, but you're welcome to listen to the off-Broadway one. If you happen to find the bootleg, which is often very easy to find, my biggest claim to fame is I was at that performance. I didn't film it, but it was filmed, I think, in the row behind me from the vantage point. We were a group of TDF seats. And the reason I know I was at that performance is because it has elements of previews. It was like the 3rd or 4th preview. So there are some elements in the show that ended up getting cut for the locked shows. And after changing my major to Joan, someone in the crowd yelled "Brava." And I just so distinctly remember that moment. Of course, it could have happened multiple times, but I just know that's from my performance. If you're in New York, you can go to the Lincoln Center Library and watch the tape. For as harrowing as it is, it actually is just such a joy and gem of a musical. So I really encourage everyone to learn and have a little Fun Home in your life, because my life is so much better for it. I had so many amazing memories seeing that show, and I think about it all the time. Its influence on me has really gone beyond just having a good experience at the theater, but as a human and then as an artist, it is just constantly, I feel like I'm going back to the well of like, oh, I remember when they did that in Fun Home. I remember when they staged that moment that way, or when they chose to have a song about this and a book scene about that. It really does just nail the landing. It has rightfully showed over the past decade why so many stories are worth trying to tell. And I'm so happy for it. So thank you to Fun Home. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week.